Welcome to The Smart Divorce on Divorce Source Radio, helping you move forward with focus, hope, and confidence, saving you time, money, and your sanity as you build a better life post-divorce. I'm Steve Peck. Deborah Moskovich, divorce consultant, educator, and author of The Smart Divorce, brings you the leading experts and researchers in the divorce arena. We'll also speak with those in the trenches, people who've learned from their divorce and how their experience has changed their lives. And they would tell you for the better. Divorce can be a beginning, even if it looks like an end, and rich in opportunity to learn and grow from. And on the Smart Divorce Radio Show, we'll explore how to create a positive outlook post-divorce life. And now, here's Deborah.
Hello, Steve. How are you today?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thanks. Now, if anybody's downloading this podcast in February, it's still worth listening because although it's January, did you know that January is divorce month?
I've heard that. It's like maybe people don't want to address it during the holidays. They put it off, and now it's like almost a resolution for them.
Sort of, yeah, anecdotally. Yeah, I remember I've had a couple of conversations now with lawyers, judges, some clinicians, and, one of the judges said to me, like, really? I mean, for judges, it's constant in court. Their dockets are overloaded. Doesn't matter if it's November, January, or the summer, right? So for them, it's the same. For lawyers, for me, it is so busy. It's interesting, though, because I talk to a lot of my clients about it, and I say, like, why now? And what I do like about the thinking behind some of these parents is that they don't want to spoil it for their kids. Mm-hmm. They don't want their kids to associate Christmas or the holidays with my parents' divorce. Right. So kudos to them for waiting, or waiting to tell them. I think that really is putting your kids' best interest first. And then, you've got others who divorce is so emotionally draining that you don't want to spoil it for everybody else. So, they see that they don't want to ruin the holidays for their extended family. Mm-hmm. Maybe it's going to be the last opportunity that they celebrate with certain people, friends and family. So they go through the holidays intact and decide come January, that's it. Then there's the others, and I think you just mentioned this. They do the soul searching and say, you know what, I can't do this anymore. And then again, calls to the lawyer's office, call to their divorce coach, and the process starts. So that's why I'm really excited about our guest today. It's Rosalind Sedacca, who we've had on before, and she's recognized as the voice of child-centered divorce. Mm-hmm. She's a divorce and parenting coach, as well as the founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network for Parents. And this month, Roz has initiated the International Child-Centered Divorce Month, which is commemorated every January. This month, divorcing and divorced parents can access free coaching, books, video programs, and other gifts, all free from divorce experts around the world, including me. I'm providing half an hour of free divorce coaching.
Very nice.
So join me in welcoming a woman who's passionate about helping parents protect and nurture their children before, during, and long after divorce, Rosalind Sedacca.
Oh, thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you guys.
Welcome back. I told Rosalind before we went on the air, I said it's the first time I've actually seen her. I've had her on the show through Deborah's show and different shows on Divorce Source Radio so many times, but we've always done it through the phone, and now we're on Skype, and I can see these two beautiful women sitting in front of me.
Oh, you're so charming. Roz, why don't we start out? Tell us a little bit about the International Child-Centered Divorce Month, or as you like to call it, ICCD Month.
Yes. Well, this is the time of the year, as you well stated, when so many more divorces take place than any other month per se. They get initiated. And another reason, in addition to the ones you mentioned, is also that many people wait until the Christmas bonuses come through at the end of the year. So there's more cash in the wallet, which is very important because we all know that there's a lot of relocation and other expenses, not to mention the legal expenses with divorce. And so many people do wait for that reason also. So with all of those things together, it makes January a blockbuster month for initiating the divorce process. And what I wanted to do was educate people and catch them as early on as possible in the process so they could avoid making the serious divorce mistakes we hear about all the time in the headlines and in movies and TV shows, the ones that harm the children. If you're divorcing and you don't have any children, you could do whatever you want and go through whatever drama you want, and it's fine. But if you have children, you have to understand the responsibility to them, and that's where my passion lies. And so we want to educate parents, we want to educate the media, and we want to educate the legal system, because there certainly is a great need around the world for tweaking the process of divorce. And it's a slow process, but we're doing everything we can. And I have a fabulous group of divorce experts on 5 continents who have participated by giving free gifts that you can download. Just click a link and you can download any of the gifts that you desire, all or 1 or 2, as many as you want. And we're delighted to have Deborah involved as well this year and last year. And it makes a huge difference because parents can really learn about pitfalls to avoid, tips and insights. And we cover the gamut of everything from handling your children to credit and financial problems, selecting legal advice and the team that you're involved in, and starting over after divorce, and just anything you could think about is being covered in through these gifts.
You know, I think it's really fabulous, and I agree with you with almost everything you said, except I'm going to respectfully disagree on one point. And that is, not to be too conflictual, but I'm a collaborative conflictual person here. And that's, you said, well, you know what, if you're divorcing without kids, and just go do whatever you want. But you know what, Ross? The divorce rate rises with each subsequent marriage. So second time, the divorce rate's 60%. And third time, as I like to say, it's not a charm, it's over 70%. So I think that people need to take the time to really understand what their issues are when they're divorcing the first time, so they don't bring them into the next relationship and make that relationship more likely to divorce than the first time.
Well, I totally agree with you, and that's why I ended up creating books and products and courses for women and men starting over after divorce. So I agree, because why repeat the same mistake and learn nothing? There's so much to learn. So that's another hat that I wear, and I know that you do a lot of coaching along those lines, and you're right, it's very important.
But the question is, if those are the true numbers, then why aren't we getting the message? We've got the information out there. All that you're gifting away is available to those who seek it, but for whatever reason...
Well, people are resistant to change, and everyone will point out the flaws in everyone else they see, but it's much harder to identify and recognize flaws within ourselves. So it takes a very conscious, aware person to look and say, what part did I play in this divorce? How am I affecting my children by the decisions that I'm making? And what can I do differently next time around so that I choose a healthier relationship partner and make more responsible decisions all the way through? Unfortunately, not everyone is ready to own that and identify with that, and that's why we see the craziness that we see all around us.
Yeah, I agree there, 100%. You know, I don't think people take the time to really understand what happened first time around. But also, I don't even know if they take the time to understand what they need in a relationship and what they're looking for, and to be honest with themselves and, new partners.
Yes, absolutely. And it's so important. And first of all, you need to close one door, find the gift or the lessons from the divorce, and then close that door and move on. Because if you bring baggage from the last relationship, you're already starting off with problems moving into a new relationship.
Absolutely. You know, the other thing is, and Steve, I know that you want to talk, but it's been a while, so I got to have the first and last say.
Go ahead.
But, I think the problem is in society today, we are very argumentative, and it's more an acrimonious type culture where people think you just got to go to court. So what I love about International Divorce Month is that people can learn options. Steve, like you said, like, what are we doing wrong? People need to know that there are other options available. You don't have to go to court. There's negotiation, there's mediation, collaborative family law. Like, why aren't we exploring all those other dispute resolutions?
Yes. And then, of course, for those who are parents, understanding all of the dynamics related to the parenting process before, during, and after divorce. Because the divorce ends, and that's only the beginning of parenting apart, co-parenting, shared parenting, however you're going to put it. You have two parents who supposedly love those children, and they have to make decisions about parenting every day, just as any other parents do. But you have this extra dynamic now of very often not liking each other, not getting along well, and even stronger emotions. And so it affects the decisions we make, and it creates a lot of really serious mistakes, because what happens is our children pay the price. And too often in divorce, we see children ending up parenting their parents because their parents become helpless, hopeless, despondent. They become bitter and angry. They get so caught up in whatever their drama is that the kids are left to fend for themselves. And that is so sad, because you're robbing your children of their innocence and of their childhood.
Do you find that happens within a specific age group, category? You know, maybe.
No, it happens in any age group. Even a 5-year-old can start trying to take care of mom or dad if mom and dad are acting helpless or depressed and crying and moping around. You know, children innately want to help their parents and fix things and make things right. It's impossible for a child, even an older teenager, to fix a divorce. We can't do it as adults. And so the children are in a no-win situation because they try so hard. They're helpless. They don't have the skills, but they get caught up in a lot of emotional turmoil, and they get used as pawns. And that's where it gets really scary.
You know, the clinical term is parentify, you know, where kids have to feel they take care of their parents. And so when you look at it long term, you know, as a 5-year-old, what's going to happen to them? What's their outlook when they're 15 or 20? You know, I think that they are afraid then getting into other romantic relationships. Well, 15, I'm you know, as a young adult, even, like, how does that affect their romantic relationships?
Sure.
You know,
they carry these scars.
But, you know, the other thing that I think is so important, and that's why I like your program, is that right up front now, it's even more than parenting. But, you know, like, I had a client just the other day who's going to court over a custody and access agreement, right? And so we talked about what's custody all about. Like, what does this mean to you? And she said, well, I don't know. So here she is. She's going to court over a custody and access agreement, doesn't really know what it is that they're there for. And I said, do you understand what custody means? It's where your child shall live. She said, but I want my son to have a relationship with his dad. So I thought to myself, oh my goodness, you know what? This woman's in court. She started the court process because there's charges of abuse. I mean, there are definite reasons why they need to go through this custody and access assessment, but she didn't really understand. And I thought to myself, this is someone who is going to look back years later and question her decisions because she didn't understand what it was all about.
Yes. Yeah, and that's the beauty of having a team. People who are fortunate enough to understand the concept of bringing in a coach, a consultant, a therapist where necessary, the mediator, a financial planner, who are all divorce-oriented and family-oriented, do better because they get all of this explained to them, and they get to the essence of what is essential for their particular family dynamic, because it's so different for every family. No two divorces are the same on any level. And it's really helpful to get that education.
Yeah.
I wonder, you two, are there any attorneys that you know out there that bundle services like this? So you may go to them to file for divorce, but now they go, look, I've got Deborah, I've got Sedacca, I've got all these people I can pull together for you.
Well, lawyers now are retaining my services. So
finally.
Yeah, after a lot of work.
Seriously, though, it seems like there was a reluctance for them to promote other people.
Right.
So what lawyers are saying to me is they're beginning to see the value of helping their clients. So what I'm doing is dealing with their clients on the emotional side of divorce so the lawyers can deal with the legal side. People are complaining, and rightly so, that it's so expensive to get divorced. And so why is it so expensive to get divorced? I can't blame it all on the lawyers. I think part of it, because I was there, it's us. It's the consumer. It's the individual going through divorce. How often, I think back to, my long protracted divorce, how often did I sit there in my lawyer's office venting, using my lawyer like a therapist?
Exactly.
I don't want to tell you how many hundreds of dollars an hour my lawyer was, right? And so I'm a fraction of that cost. But not only are you going to tell me what your issues are, I am going to help you understand what the process is. The lawyer might be a little bit too busy to help, sit there with you and hold your hand and take you through the process. So yes, Steve, you know what? There are lawyers now who are they're becoming more sensitive to their clients' needs. Of course, that's because I've been hounding them and calling them and telling them that this is why you need to bring a divorce coach on side.
Yeah. And it's a win for the clients because they pay much less for our kinds of services and they can get much more. And let's face it, attorneys are not trained in the mental health field. So they are not the people to talk to get compassion, to get empathic answers, to get sensitivity about family matters, because they're trained in legal issues. And when you bring the team together and you bring that other side in, then you're getting a much fuller, more well-rounded support system. And everything moves much more quickly. I just had lunch today with an attorney, and she was telling me, you can't imagine how many times my clients, they send me a copy of every email they write to their spouse. And she said, if I stopped and read every one of those, I would be charging infinite billions of dollars to these clients. They don't realize, I never read them because I just can't afford to be doing that. Mm-hmm. They need someone else to be sharing this with. And that's why Debbie's services are so perfect. And my services take them, even after the divorce, into the co-parenting process of now, how are you going to be living your lives together with your children? How are you going to make it work out? How are you going to communicate effectively with one another? How are you going to handle conflict and issues? And what mistakes are you making that are going to be wounding and scarring your children emotionally and psychologically?
So right here, right now, we're starting a campaign to change society's perceptions, and we're going to be more settlement-oriented.
Yes.
All right. We all agree. We come together. We believe. Rosalind, taking you back to, I don't know how many years ago you started the child-centered divorce, but it sounds like a no-brainer, right? We should all be thinking about our kids first, but there's something that happens in even some seemingly normal people's minds that would always put their kids first, that now when they're going through this trauma, they're not. So how did you begin with that?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. And I started in 2006. And this was based on my own divorce back in the 90s when my son was 11. So I created a unique approach to breaking the divorce news to him after staying up for weeks of sleepless nights. And I applied it, and it was very effective. And I said, gee, you ought to turn this into a book for other people. I have a background in writing. But I sat on it for the next 15 years and went about raising my son as a co-parent. And it was only after he was in his early 20s when he came to me and said, you and Dad did a great job with the divorce. I have so many friends who hate their parents and who were so scarred by their parents from the divorce. Thank you. And that was such a relief to me because I was holding on to a lot of guilt, as many parents do, about even having a divorce. And it made me think, I have a lot to share. I've learned a lot, and I know things that other people aren't doing. And that's when I started the Child-Centered Divorce Network. And that's when I wrote How Do I Tell the Kids About the Divorce, and made this my life's work because there's just so much to say and share and do. And if we catch people early on, it's so much more effective then catching them in the therapist's office after they're all going crazy or their children are needing psychologists and acting out and having behavior problems, which too often is the case. We could nip these problems in the bud with enlightened parents who understand that there's a consequence for every decision they make.
I love that. That's good for you. What is it that's different the way that you would tell a client to help, their children understand mom and dad are divorcing versus what most therapists, social workers, clinicians would tell their clients?
Well, I don't think it's different from what most therapists and clinicians do, but I think I created an approach that's very pragmatic. But the message, it's all about the attitude. The attitude of the parents will influence how the children are affected. So if you have an attitude of, mom and dad haven't been getting along, life has not been that smooth at home, and so we're going to move into two separate houses so that we can have happy times when you're with mom and happy times with dad, and we're not going to have the tension and the conflict and the fighting that's been going on. So this is another chapter in our family life. We're still a family. We'll always be a family. Your mom will always be your mom. Your dad will always be your dad. But we're just changing the format of this family. And if you approach it that way, then the kids are on board because they could see it makes sense. If you come to them and say, oh my, the worst thing on the planet has happened to us. We're getting a divorce. Your dad did this and that and the other thing. And now we're forced to go through this terrible experience. And I don't know how we're going to make it. Well, the children are going to be traumatized right from the beginning.
Yeah.
So we need to reassure them. We need to build their security and let them know that many things will still be the same. And the things that are going to be different, mom and dad are working on it and we're handling it. I've created a book with age-appropriate fill-in-the-blank templates that mom and dad customize a little bit about their family. And then when they print it out, the storybook text is all about them and their family. And they add family photos, put it in a storybook, in a photo album, and it becomes a personal storybook about us and our family. And when you give it to the children at the time of the divorce conversation, the children are interested in looking at this book about them and their family, and the text is written for them. So the parents can go through the text, and it has the 6 key messages every child needs to hear. The parents don't have to stammer through the conversation because everything is there for them. The tone is right, and the children can reread it over and over and over again in the days and weeks and months to follow, reminding them that mom and dad will always be their mom and dad and that they'll always love them, and that this is about change, not about blame, and all the other good messages they need to hear. So it's a very useful technique, and it starts both parents on the same page, because I have 6 psychotherapists who contributed to the book, and each of us just badger the parents into understanding that if you make certain mistakes, your kids are going to suffer consequences. So don't do these things, and then you can have a positive experience after the divorce.
That's great. I love it. I think that's fabulous, because all too often I've heard of single parents or lone parents complaining that at school, for instance, when their children are asked to write something about the family, expecting the traditional family unit of mom and dad and the siblings at home, but there isn't always a mom and dad at home. So I think that is really wonderful, making the child feel like they're not different.
Yes, and many families continue the storybook in the months to follow, either in one house or both houses, and the kids can add photos, they can add text, and it just shows that life goes on, that there's a past, there's a present, and yes, there's going to be a future. And so it's a positive approach that the kids can adapt to much more easily. Kids are flexible.
Yeah.
If you give them an opportunity and don't fill it with doom and gloom and rob them of their innocence, then they can accept changes.
Excellent. So, what are some of the key questions parents can ask themselves to help avoid making serious mistakes during and after divorce?
That's a great question. Let me share some that I use in my coaching practice. One of the biggest is do you love your children more than you hate your ex?
Yeah, I've heard that before.
And that one really stops people in their tracks. Another important question to ask, for the parents to ask themselves, is how can we make life better for our children after the divorce than it was before? If you ask yourself that, because, you know, when the divorce was taking place, or in the years or months before that, there were issues at home. There was either tension and fighting, or there was silence and apathy, and either way, the parents were not getting along in a harmonious manner, and the children pick up on that. Now we can give them the gift of a better life, and in many cases, after divorce, life is better for kids, because living in a home filled with acrimony and tension and conflict is very, very difficult for children.
Yeah.
So it's a good question to be asking, what can we do now to make life better for them? Also, a very key question to ask, every time you have a parenting decision, would I be making this same decision if we were still married? In other words, am I doing something to spite my ex, to hurt my ex, to get back at them in some way? It's so easy to do that. It's so tempting. And we all justify the decisions we make. So can you keep it clean and make the decision based on your children's best needs, just the way you would if you were still married? Then you know you're making wise parenting decisions, and not parenting decisions that are designed to get back at that ex that you really dislike so much. So we want to keep people taking the high road and making wise decisions for their children. And then they'll be able to get a positive outcome when the children grow up. Parents just don't realize that no matter how young their children are, one day they're going to grow up and hold you accountable. And it's important to ask yourself now, will my children respect me when they're adults for the way I handled this divorce? Mm-hmm. Because adult children of divorce, a lot of them are very angry. They're very hateful towards their parents. They're very mad. They find out that parents lied to them, that they were alienated from another parent, that they were deceived, that they were used as pawns. So now's the time to cut the aspirations of playing games with your kids, because it's going to bite you in the end.
So, Ross, if our listeners want to get a hold and download some of the great products and services that are on International Child-Centered Divorce Month, what's the website that they would go to?
Yes, it's Divorced Parent Support. That's Divorced ED. So it's divorcedparentsupport.com/ebook. divorcedparentsupport.com/ebook. And that's all through January. And after that, and all through the year, they can go to childcentereddivorce.com to get my free ebook and a weekly newsletter, tons of articles, resources, tons of free information, as well as my divorce coaching services. And I have a 10-hour audio coaching program with workbook specifically on mastering child-centered divorce.
Sounds wonderful.
So let me get this straight, right? Because we go through the emotion of divorce, and we're obviously, we have to grow up a little bit. We have to put our big boy and big girl pants on, and we're kind of hiding some of our feelings from our kids. That's what you're saying, right? Because the anger's still there. We still may really not like this person, but we can't let our kids see that. Is that what we're saying here?
Well, we want to be respectful about when talking about our children's other parent, because it hurts our children when we're not. They love both parents, and the children are part of both parents. But of course, I know Debbie will agree with me in saying it's much healthier to learn how to forgive and move on and not hold on to a lot of that crap. It's better to look at the gift in your divorce and say, okay, that SOB did this, that, and the other thing to me, but I made some poor choices here and there too, right. And I'm going to look at that as a gift that I'm to move on in life, and let go of the emotional cord they hold on you. Holding on to anger and going through life and trying to create a better life in the future doesn't work. So there's a lot of value in learning to move on and doing this for yourself. It's not just for your kids, it's doing it for you. But most important of all, you're doing it for your kids. You could dislike your ex till the end of your days, but when you badmouth them around the kids, and when you fight in front of the kids, and when you manipulate situations and lie to your kids, and when you try to alienate your kids and put them on your side to dislike your ex, that's when you're creating emotional havoc for those children, and they deserve better.
You know, I'm developing a program with AFCC, Association of Family and Conciliation Courts, for professionals on adult children of divorce sharing their stories. So how their parents' divorce as children have affected them now that they're adults. Like, and what's their outlook and what are their reflections? Now, 2 adult children share their stories. And I thought this was so interesting. Their parents were very conscious of not bad-mouthing the other parent when they were growing up. But now that they're adults, their parents felt, each one actually, so it wasn't just, mom or dad, it was both, felt that now that they're old enough, I'm going to share some of the details of what was so bad about your mom or what was so bad about your dad. And you know what each of them said? I don't want to hear it. So it doesn't matter if you're 5 or 25. You know what? Nobody wants to hear the bad stuff about your parent, even though they know that there might be something. It goes back to parentifying, taking care of your parents. So, I think on that fine note, we should leave it with our listeners to say that it doesn't matter where you are, and what you think of your former spouse or your co-parent. You can't be bad-mouthing them to your kids.
Yes.
Roz, anything else you'd like to add to that?
I just want to remind you, if you ask yourself, put yourself in your children's shoes and ask yourself, how are they seeing the world from their whatever age they're at? If you continuously do that, you'll make smarter decisions and smarter choices, because you'll realize that they are innocent and they are living their lives, and you don't want to be harming and destroying it just to be vindictive and just to justify whatever you're feeling about your former spouse. Let your kids have their childhood, and you will never regret it.
I love that. Let your kids have their childhood.
Mm-hmm. Applaud you for all your work. You've done some great stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah, you've worked so hard on pulling together all of the participants in ICCD. It's quite phenomenal.
She's on LinkedIn, too, the Child-Centered Divorce page on LinkedIn.
People can join. We have over 1,600 members of the Child-Centered Divorce Group on LinkedIn. And it's open to professionals as well as parents, and you could get lots of really valuable information at that resource. Ask questions and get advice, because everyone there knows what they're talking about.
Awesome.
Good for you. Kudos to you, Roz. You're doing a fabulous job.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate your letting me share this information.
So again, do you wanted to share that website link for ICCD?
It's divorcedparentsupport.com/ebook. And that'll get you access to the free gift page. And there's also recordings of some wonderful teleseminars and webinars that have been taking place during the month.
Will those gifts be available after January as well?
Yes, it will. We're saying we're closing it down, but you could actually peek in there at any time. I don't take it down, so people.
That's an insider tip for you DSR listeners.
So if you're listening in March, take advantage.
That's true, and come visit me at Child-Centered Divorce as well.
All right, and while we're throwing out plugs, Deb, what's going on in your world?
Oh, it's just fabulous. So now the Smart Divorce Toolkit, I actually have a special in January for those that are listening. So you might want to take advantage of that.
Can we extend that into February too, maybe?
For DSR listeners, it's my pleasure. Okay. For listeners of the Smart Divorce on Divorce Source Radio, it's always a pleasure. Good. So just email me at info@thesmartdivorce.com, and I'd be happy to extend the offer of 25% off.
Nice.
So it's value-added, valuable, powerful information to start taking control of your divorce and cutting down on your costs, maintaining your sanity.
And you're busy as ever. You're doing television shows and appearances and all of that.
Well, as I say, January is divorce month, so I have been on national TV twice already this month, and it's only like the second week of January, and on radio, national radio as well. So I'll have links to those programs that you can listen to and download and share and do what you want. But what's great is that people can educate themselves on being smart about divorce.
That's what it's all about.
Yes.
All right, ladies, thank you very much. Great talking to both of you.
Thank you.
And thank you.
See you all the next time on The Smart Divorce with Deborah Moskovich. As always, I hope the program helped you. If you have a comment or question you'd like to ask us, we'd love to hear from you. You can leave us a voicemail on our listener line at area code 248-686-2256. Or drop us an email with your question or comment to divorcesourceradio@gmail.com. New programs are available every week on divorcesourceradio.com, as well as iTunes, BlackBerry, Stitcher, and all over the web. If you'd like to be notified when new programs are available, you can follow us on Twitter. Our follow word is Divorce Source. Also, if you're not listening from our website, I invite you to stop by divorcesourceradio.com, where you'll find a complete program archive. If you're looking for a specific subject, simply type it into our search engine, and chances are you'll find what you're looking for. We also have other resources available at our website as well. And while you're on our website, click on the Facebook icon and join the growing Divorce Source Radio Facebook community. Thanks for listening. Until next time, make it a great week and stay healthy. I'm Steve Peck.